You are listening to the Mark Guzman Podcast Experience. Hello, podcast listeners. Before we get started, a reminder that you can visit my website at markguzman.com to view all of my homes for sale and my rental properties. I usually have many apartments, but as of today, I have more home listings than apartments, so refer those family and friends that need housing. Facebook has been all over the news lately, but not in a good way. The recent revelations regarding Facebook and Cambridge Analytica has thrown the future of the social network in limbo. In addition, Facebook has been hit with a housing discrimination lawsuit based around their ad platform and real estate brokerages. If you are one of the many realtors or property managers who uses Facebook to conduct business, you might be wondering how Facebook's legal troubles could impact your business. Today, we welcome back Melody Mills, digital specialist and founder of Mills Media, who specializes on using Facebook for business, to explain the Facebook's situation as well as what you can do about it. Welcome, Melody, to another podcast episode, second time on the show. And so what's new with you? How's work been?
Work has been good. Getting into the busy time of year now for marketing. Everyone's kind of waking up from the winter season, getting back on track. All the sales people are back in the office. They've been working out since February, so April's really ramping up for marketing. And so, yeah, it means I'm busier, which is good. Still got time to talk to you, though, which is also good.
How's the Canadian winter over there? Did you make it through it?
You know what, Mark? I am in the best place to be for Canadian winter. I'm in Vancouver, so it's a lot of rain, but it's not, so cold outside that you might freeze to death if you're out there for too long. So no complaints on my end. We're starting to get sunshine here. I was in San Diego a few weeks ago, which was amazing to get that warmth and sun on my skin. Give me a little bit of motivation to keep sticking through till the summertime. So it's good.
Yeah. Are you a fan of hockey too? Have you watched any of the Olympics?
I am. Yeah. I watched some of the Olympics. It's always fun to watch hockey. It was a little bit different this year because they changed the rules. So with the Olympic hockey, usually they have a break in the NHL, and then all the NHL players can go play for 2.5 weeks, I think it is, for the Olympics. But this year they changed that, so there weren't NHL players playing on the Olympic teams this year.
Okay, very interesting. So you reached out to me, and you wanted to collaborate together on this episode here for a very specific topic, and really about Facebook and the recent controversies and the whole Cambridge Analytica scandal that's little by little coming out. So let's dive into it, and why don't you explain what exactly happened here with Facebook?
Sure, yeah. No, I'm glad we're talking about it because there's a lot of people that are kind of panicked and untrusting right now online. So it's a really good topic to handle. So for anyone who doesn't quite understand what happened, I'll kind of just take you through the timeline quickly. Kind of all started in 2013. That's when Facebook had data exposed. So people are a little bit confused. Like, they think that Facebook kind of handed over this data to this person, this academic researcher. But what happened was Facebook just had the data exposed. So when they're called data miners came in, they were easily collecting this data. So 2013, this academic researcher came in and developed a quiz app. And so to anyone who's on Facebook and they're clicking this quiz and it's fun and you get these fun little results, what actually was happening was he was collecting some non-private data from anyone that was partaking in the quiz. Then what happened was in 2014, Facebook changed the rules, but by then it was too late. This one researcher in particular had gathered quite a bit of data, and in 2014 they sold that data to Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica then in 2015 15 to 16 used that information collected and used it on Donald Trump's presidential campaign. So that's like a really simple breakdown of what happened.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, how they did it, but and I know the different types of quizzes that you're talking about, because as soon as you click on it, the very first thing it says is, do you allow for this website or this company to extract all your data in order to finalize a quiz or answer some questions?
Yeah.
And when you authorize it, you're giving them basically all your Facebook data.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, think about everything that's on your, and we're not talking like your pictures and your, they don't care about like stuff on your timeline. It's like the Facebook information, like your birth date, your telephone number, your email address, your relationship status. You might even have put in some time, what kind of car you drive. Like at some point you've put some information into your Facebook profile, into settings or into other apps that you've downloaded into it. And so, it was just kind of sitting there for the taking.
And I think one other thing, too, is, I guess they can also pull up the metadata from all your posts. And one thing that just recently came out, too, was that Facebook has been taking the metadata of your cell phone for Android users for years. So they know who you called, the date and time you called, and also text messaging. They know who you sent a text to, the date of the text message, and how often. They don't have actual messages, but they have the metadata behind it, and that was also extracted.
Right, and that again has to do with what people have allowed. So if you put sync my contacts in with Messenger, or, at some point these options have come up. They've come up when you're maneuvering through the Facebook app or on your browser, and people just are not really thinking about what they're doing. So then they just quickly, and they don't like reading like the agree to these terms and all this sort of stuff. They just go, agree, sure, yeah. Because they have like this little end goal in mind, which is like, message my friends easily through Facebook Messenger or whatever. And so it's all kind of catching up to people now, which has just recently been exposed. It was definitely set to come to a halt because things are getting a little out of hand there. I mean, it's just, I know even on my personal timeline, just seeing friend on Facebook after friend on Facebook posting like what type of dog they're going to be reincarnated to in their next life, or like what type of hot dog they'd be or whatever. And it's like, okay, I know this is fun, but what do you think is really going on here?
Yeah. I think in today's day and age, like all the digital space out there, I think the more and more we try to make things convenient for us, the less and less privacy we're really going to have. I mean, is that something that can be fixed? Because I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was Googling certain ways I can automate my own business, and I started looking at this company called Rent Preps, and they basically do tenant screening for you through certain certified groups, and they report back to you on the actual tenant, the background, landlord verifications, everything. And so I was researching them, and then I get onto Facebook, and there's already ads being sponsored for that company and various other similar type of companies. I mean, is there a way to eventually get away from that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of becoming a popular topic now that like your own privacy might even be like an asset one day. Like the more private that people have been and managed to be, it's almost like it's going to be a tangible asset one day, because the more that further we go into what you're kind of talking about, like automation and accessibility. I mean, even if you look at these new devices from the Alexa, it's called. So
Mm-hmm.
you set it up in your house. You go, hey, Google, do this. And it's this kind of cheaper device. I think the price range is somewhere from $30 to $60. So it's super affordable. What that is, it's like this convenient little thing that you put in your house. And then now it's like they've planted a bug. And I don't mean a bug in that they're listening to everything you're saying. I mean, yes, obviously it's listening, but in a way that now you're going to start streamlining all your devices so that it matches up to this one Alexa or this other device from Apple or whatever. And in doing so, you're constantly allowing your information to go to this one company that's just mining all this data, constantly mining all this data. I mean, if you look at your digital box and you have all your favorite shows stored, and let's say your cable network is the same as your phone. I mean, they have all this information. So, I sit here, I like to watch Real Housewives or of whatever. I'll pick any region. I don't care. I love the show. And my cable provider knows, okay, she's this old of a woman, this is her income, this is the shows she likes to watch, this is what she's listening to on Alexa, this is what she's Googling. I mean, look at all the information at their fingertips. So then they can just keep catering everything to you, and it's just everything's going to be marketed to you and exactly what you're watching, listening to, Googling, searching, calling. It's just all going to be information available to them. Is it an evil thing? Is it a bad thing? I mean, I don't know. I can't really say at this point if it's a good or bad thing. I mean, don't you want to be marketed what you want to see?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when Facebook started coming out with ads, that people were upset and annoyed that they were being marketed things they had no interest in. And now that they've tuned it to a point where you get marketed exactly what you're looking for at that very moment, now it gets very creepy. Yeah. And then people are like, well, okay, this might be a little too much. So, I guess going forward, as more of this comes out, because Facebook right now is in the spotlight, but there's a ton of other companies that also get this data and have their own form of data, like Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and these other companies. I would imagine at some point the public holds these companies to a much higher standard as far as privacy protection and maybe just doing the right thing when it comes to handling data.
Of course. And I mean, what it all comes down to as well is like just basic PR. So, you can strum along in your company and you can have these practices that, for Facebook, for example, like they're making billions of dollars, they have billions of users. They knew what they were doing. And then when they got busted, they kind of sat on it for a little bit because people are so finicky that, yes, this delete Facebook hashtag popped up and everything like that, but they didn't really handle their PR the best way. They kind of sat on it. I bet you they thought it was going to disappear overnight. People got in an uproar. So now they did make the changes in 2014 in their defense, but now they've made some more changes and to protect people's privacy. And really that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. I mean, as the buyers and as the clients of this product, if enough people are upset, they're going to change it. Like at the end of the day, Facebook wants to make money. But what it takes is people just starting to care a little bit more. And thank goodness, like this came out with this Cambridge Analytica thing, because even on like my business page, I've posted about like, don't take these quizzes, try not to give out too much private information. And so it's kind of nice that it's out for the general public and on the big media circles. But I don't know what the smaller platforms are going to do, but I my personal opinion is if Facebook just holds strong and continues to handle this in a smart public relations manner, then they can get over this hump. And I don't know who's going to try and come up next, like Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. There might be a whole new platform in the works, which is the vibe that I got when I was at that conference in San Diego. But
well, there's that new app.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, it's not really a new app. They've been around for a few years, but there's a lot of buzz around it right now called Vivo. and it's similar
That's
to
right.
Instagram, but I guess the whole premise behind it is that they don't advertise to you, or your entire feed is not based on an algorithm. It's just based on
Yeah.
timeline.
Which is what everyone wants. Bring back the timeline. I'm down with that. There's also this really cool new app out recently called Patreon. I don't know if I think I just put
Patreon,
a French
yeah.
accent on that. So all of your United States listeners are going to be like, what is she saying? Have you heard of it? It's pretty cool.
I have,
so
yeah.
if you're a creator, which is something so many people are getting into lately, then you can have your own page and your own channel, and it kind of takes out the advertising. So if someone really likes your creative and they want to follow you, it would be more like a Sirius XM way of doing things, where
and they
maybe
can donate to
your
you,
followers
right?
would exactly. And so that cuts out a lot of advertising. So if like a platform like that takes off, that would completely change the game. Completely change the game. Just in the same way that Sirius XM has completely changed the radio game.
Yeah.
So,
and I think
to me,
you're going to
that's
see
pretty
more.
exciting.
Yeah, and you're going to see more and more of that. I mean, look at Twitch. A lot of people on Twitch, if you go with, I believe it's Twitch Pro or Twitch Premium, I mean, there's a lot of people that will donate coins to their favorite gamers just for them to keep on playing.
That's right.
So I think you're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah. That probably will be the new mode. I keep saying Sirius XM because they were kind of the first. Netflix and Sirius XM are kind of the pioneers of that in a way. Like, here, we'll just deliver to you exactly what you want to hear, exactly what you want to see, and no television commercials. So,
okay.
TV advertising is still huge. It's still pretty much number one out there, but
that'll
method of
eventually
advertising
change.
is definitely changing and morphing. Yeah, for sure.
So let's take this back to more of a small business aspect. How will this entire scandal with Facebook, how will it affect small business? Because, I mean, you're right in that Facebook's biggest customer is the public. They have a free product. They want to keep the people happy, because by keeping them happy, keeping them on Facebook, then they have a leverage to then charge advertisers. So from a small business perspective, how much will this affect them?
Right. So from a small business perspective, it's more important now than ever to build trust with your current clients and future clients. So at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, is if your small business is on social media, you should always be as transparent as possible. Transparency is key. So no matter what they do to change the privacy options, and no matter what kind of scandals coming out with Facebook, as long as like your personal brand speaks transparency and trust, you'll be okay, whatever platform you're on. As far as advertising goes, they did change the partner categories targeting, but they haven't changed much for like the small business advertising. So if you are a real estate agent, property manager, you have your own business going on, you won't really be feeling these effects too hardcore. It's more the bigger corporations that are spending a ton of money on this partner categories advertising, that they are going to feel the effects quite a bit more. Because and especially in the United States. In Canada, we're not really having any big changes because we already had a bit of a lockdown up here with our rules. But it's going to be the bigger companies that are feeling it. So for now, small business owners don't have to stress out too much about these changes and what it means for their marketing online.
Okay, so for the listeners, you've mentioned partner categories a couple times. Can you explain that and how that works?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so partner categories, this can't exist without the help of data mining companies, which is what that academic researcher came up with in 2013 that I was speaking of previously. So these partners, they have information on people based on their activities away from Facebook. So, for example, when you are on your, let's say you use Google Chrome, you're on your browser and you have Facebook open on your browser and you're logged in, information is passed to Facebook from Google on what you're Googling and doing on your other tabs. So it's not even about what you're doing on Facebook. It's, you have these other tabs open and you're doing all this stuff. They're getting information from your other tabs. So, for example, our company, for example, would maybe want to sell a new Toyota Corolla to people who already own a Toyota Corolla. They're going to pay big bucks to have Facebook deliver. Facebook would use the information that they have so that they could deliver targeted ads to Toyota Corolla owners. So Toyota Corolla would pay Facebook, this is our targeted ad campaign. Facebook makes sure that anyone who owns a 2008 to 2010 Corolla or whatever would then see that ad on their screen. So small business owners, you can do targeted ads, but it's more like men age 35 to 65 in California. I want them to see this ad. Whereas the targeted partners is really specific information that Facebook wouldn't have unless they were collecting it from like Google Chrome or Safari or these other browsers that you'd have open. So that's going to be a big change. And that's been around for quite a few years, that partner categories there. But that's going to be one of the biggest changes. So if you have a big company that uses the data mining information and has big contracts with Facebook for targeted advertising, yeah, you're going to be in a bit of a pinch now. But smaller business owners don't really have to worry about that too much. The partner categories targeting.
Okay, and so going back to small business, because most of the listeners are going to be some kind of small business owner or in real estate.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to be affected as much then?
No. Immediately, they shouldn't be feeling too many effects, other than just the skepticism on behalf of their potential clients that are on Facebook. But that's just the vibe and the feeling that's out there right now. It'll pass because it always does. So these small business owners, they just have to hold strong. Nothing's going to change for them immediately as far as rules go. And what they could do in the meantime is up their transparency. So if you're already working on your personal branding through your Facebook and your Instagram stories, just keep showing your behind the scenes, keep telling your story, and keep trying to connect with your clients emotionally through marketing, and keep those relationships strong, and you'll hold strong through this as well.
Yeah,
and keep your eyes open for the newer platforms that are coming out, and don't be afraid to hop on there and try it.
Yeah. So let's talk about new platforms, or many times it's not even new platforms. It's just other platforms available out there. And many times, like Vivo, for example, may sound like it's new, but it's been around, I think, since 2013 or 14. But so let's talk about some of the other platforms people can use to advertise their business. What's the number 2 that you recommend?
Well, see, it all depends on what the business is. So, for example, Pinterest is still huge. So, like, if you have a clothing company or you have a anything for the home, basically, company, then you want to make sure you're on such a visual platform, such as Pinterest or Instagram. If maybe your company is a consulting company, so you would do maybe you're a retired real estate agent and you want to consult to other real estate agents, then your greatest platform perhaps could be just dialing in your company blog and setting yourself up with some ebooks to deliver information and to showcase how much of an expert you are in your area. There's also some really fun ways that like people might not even think of right off the top of their head. Tinder, for example. If you are a local restaurant owner, in the Bay Area, and you know that people go on these Tinder dates, they meet up at lounges or restaurants or whatever, put an ad up on Tinder. They've got tons of ads going on their platform these days. They've become a new advertising platform themselves.
That's very
And what better
interesting.
place for people to see where they, they're already swiping through and thinking dating, and they swipe through and see ad for a lounge or restaurant. Boom. It's the perfect spot. There's so many fun apps out there. There's like this other app called Design Home. And so people go on this app, and it's this little pretend home, and you design it, and you get these challenges. And so the furniture that's being used in this app Design Home is actual furniture that you can go out and buy. So people are in this app, they're playing this game, and let's say there's this couch that they always like to use. Well, it's available to buy. So how fun is that for that furniture maker to strike a deal with this game, this app that's a game that lots of people are into, they're having fun, and they get some sales through that. So there isn't just one place that you can be. There's so many places that so many people don't even think of, and if you are a small business owner, it can't hurt to talk to someone like me, who specializes in digital marketing, because we kind of know about all these other spots that you could be on, or just go online and just expand your imagination and just Google for hours about online marketing and digital media and educate yourself.
Yeah, that's very cool. I didn't know Tinder was doing ads now. So that's very interesting. And yeah, that's perfect for like a small restaurant, or actually any restaurant, or lounge or bar, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
or anything. I mean, if you are a dating expert, you could advertise on there. If you're a clothing company, you could advertise on there. It's just wherever your clientele are hanging out, whatever apps they got on their phone, that's where you want to be marketing.
yeah, so it's really about creativity, and Facebook is, even though it's one of the largest or the largest network, it's not the only game in town.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it is important for your business to be on Facebook, because it's just a numbers game. There's just so many Facebook users still. So you want to make sure that you have a business page on there and you're actively posting. But don't put all your eggs in one basket, because that could fold any day. It's so unpredictable. Everything changes so much day to day. So you just want to be really careful. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket and relying solely on Facebook or solely on Tinder. Twitter, but Tinder too. And then you want to think about, at the end of the day, you always want to think about, where are my potential clientele hanging out, and how do I speak the language so that I can connect to them, and I can assess what is their problem. This is their problem. I know how to fix that problem for them, and this is how I'm going to tell them.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the younger generation, because it seems like a lot of the younger generation don't want anything to do with Facebook. They're all about Twitter,
Yeah.
Instagram, Snapchat. It'd be very interesting to see if Twitter makes a really big comeback, because they've been really suffering on numbers and
Yeah.
and so it'd be interesting to see if they have a comeback along with a boost in Snapchat, because the younger generation really don't want anything to do with Facebook. They kind of get a Facebook if they have a job or they need it for some specific reason, or maybe their grandparents have a Facebook now and really guilt them into getting one so that they can stay in touch. But yeah, so what do you see as far as the younger generation? What apps are they using? What's coming up? Because in real estate in California right now, for example, the average home buyer is about 32, 33 years old. That's at the top end of what some consider the millennial group. But in 15 years, you're going to have the next generation being that average home buyer age. What are they going to be using?
Yeah, I mean, digital media, like social media, has only really been around for 15 years. So it's almost impossible to say in 15 years. It's almost impossible, Mark, to say in 5 years what people are going to be using. One thing I would really, really keep my eye out on is like marketing through virtual reality and marketing through augmented reality. So you're going to see a lot more just like video marketing. And if platforms like YouTube can really keep up with the race and keep up with like the virtual reality and the AR and the AI and all that sort of stuff, then they might take the cake in the next few years for being maybe the Facebook for millennials. Snapchat, I mean, their stock goes up and down all the time, but I think they have a good hold on the millennials, even though Kylie Jenner kind of screwed that up for them not that long ago. But
well, I know a lot of people don't like the latest update too. It's completely different. But then again, with every app,
which people?
What's that?
Which people? Like people around our age or younger people?
I've noticed it across, from very young generation to the older generation of Snapchat users. Many people don't like the latest update because there's not a specific page for stories. Now it's kind of mixed in with the messages. And but I mean, at the same time, the way I feel about it is every time an app does an update, there's always a big chunk of people that complain because human nature is we get very comfortable with things and don't want change.
Yeah. People are like very obstinate to any change. I mean, even remember what the original Facebook page used to look like? And then when they changed that up, is that people were like losing their minds. So if you just change something and you just kind of give it a little bit of time, people will get used to it. But I don't know. I feel like Snapchat, they did a big change, and it's like a little bit uncomfortable for people that don't want to learn how to figure out new screens and what to touch and how to get there. But like, there's quite a few features on Snapchat that are pretty unique to Snapchat, like the geo tagging or the geo snap. So when you are on Snapchat and you are like on the screen where you're about to take a picture, and then you use two fingers to kind of pull out of it, and then it shows you like a map of the world, and it shows you where you are on there and all your friends if they have their location on, and then you can like visit around the world by pressing on hotspots. And if anyone's like Snapchatting and putting it on GeoSnap, you can see what people are doing all over the world. I mean, it's stuff like that I think kind of keeps Snapchat like ahead of the crowd a little bit, and especially with the millennials, they aren't so fussy about their privacy. So that is something that, like, 30 years older and up, like, we're still getting used to all of this. But because all these kids have grown up with now, like, their names being online, no problem, and sharing pictures, no problem, and all this stuff, it's come with its own set of problems. But also, they're a really unique group to market to, because I don't think they care about the privacy stuff as much.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you are thinking 15 years from now, then I wouldn't get too stuck on all this privacy mayhem with Facebook, because it's not, I don't think people are really going to care that much 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're going to be okay with one system knowing everything about them, so that everything can just be catered to them all the time.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if anything else comes out, because Zuckerberg is going to be testifying in front of Congress. Now, what's also interesting is that WikiLeaks actually called out Cambridge Analytica a few years ago for data mining, and they didn't call out Facebook specifically, but they talked about Cambridge Analytica. I think even the New York Times picked up the WikiLeaks drop on that and created a story around it. I'll have to look it up, but they've been in the news in the past, except it hasn't really made mainstream like it is right now. So it'll be interesting to see what else comes out of this. I know lots of politicians have hired Cambridge Analytica. Ted Cruz was another one that had hired him. He obviously lost, but yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this.
It is interesting, and I think it's a good way to shed some light on how elections are held as well. Like, I was told from a bit of an inside source that Facebook offers experts from Facebook to come to help the Democratic Party and the Republican Party with their campaign, and to give them inside information onto how best manage their campaigns through Facebook. And like with Hillary Clinton's campaign, for example, they declined that offer from Facebook. That's what I was told by someone that works within the government in the States. So this is a good eye opener as well to future parties that are going to be advertising on social media to get as much help as possible, but also to the general population and the voters it's like that whole fake news thing. Like, yes, it's true. You can't just scroll on Facebook and believe everything you see and everything you read. It's like you have to kind of check out once in a while and use your own brain.
I think personally, as a society, we each should be responsible for researching everything that we see before we actually claim it to be true or believe it.
Yes.
I mean, there's so much fake stuff out there. It's just ridiculous. I mean, The Onion proves it. I mean, they came out and still to this day, they're extremely popular. And I still see people fall for their articles, even though The Onion is well known for just being fake news.
I know. And the worst is when someone creates a meme and all it is a picture with font on it and a statement, and people share it online and they're like, I knew it. And it's like, it's literally just a picture that someone typed on and shared on their Facebook. So that is not
Twitter
a news
post.
Source. That's not a credible news source. I know. It's actually really funny for me because I spend so much time online, so I kind of get a kick out of just how funny society can be sometimes. And by funny, I mean also dense. But this is overall, like, this whole scandal with Cambridge Analytica and the, how it influenced the election campaign and everything. It's a great wake-up call. And yes, Mark Zuckerberg is going to testify in front of Congress about his practices, and I think it's the FTC is the one who's going to be asking the questions. But at the end of the day, if you walk into a store and the person at the desk says, could you write down your name, your telephone number, your age, what's your favorite pasta, and you say yes, that person hasn't done anything wrong if they take that information and then give it to the next person standing to them.
Mm-hmm. So when Mark is testifying in front of Congress, what should we be looking for?
We should be, well, I'd like to think that the lawmakers are going to sort that out for us, right? Because what is it? Is it ethics or laws? So what is more important to you? Where do your principles lie in? I mean, yes, it should be ethical and it should follow the law. Was it ethical for Facebook to expose this data and make it available to the Quiz app to collect the data? It's hard to say because they did offer a certain amount of transparency. If you agree to the terms and the conditions, and every time you pressed accept, it said, are you okay with this access to your data? And you said yes. Was there a big ethical dilemma there? So when he goes in front of Congress and they ask the questions, you want to really pay attention to what laws were broken. And then following the testimony, you want to pay attention to what their PR department is going to be putting out there, because they have quite the mess to be cleaning up right now. But the best thing that they can do at this point is to provide us, like I said, with full transparency. So if they start going on a road of full transparency, then it's great. Like, keep with it. Keep with Facebook and trust the company if you want. But, Mark Zuckerberg's worth billions of dollars for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not because he's a saint.
So before we finish off, I do want to cover one of the recent lawsuits against Facebook that just came out. They're being sued for violating housing, basically the Fair Rights Housing Discrimination Act. And what this lawsuit's coming out and saying is that Facebook allows for a real estate brokerage to discriminate against various groups of people, because when you serve an ad, you can select age, so you can discriminate against senior citizens. You can select certain neighborhoods, which could potentially fall into redlining or steering. There's different issues with that. So Facebook came out and said, we don't believe there's any validity to their claim, and we're going to fight this 100%. But this group, they brought up a good point, and I don't think you can always fully prevent something from happening. I mean, if you're a real estate brokerage and you want to advertise to a specific neighborhood, you can get mailing labels and send out postcards to that neighborhood only. Or if you wanted to send it out to an entire city but avoid a certain neighborhood, you could also do that too. So would the post office then be responsible for basically for managing that? So what's your take on this? How can this potentially affect real estate brokerages?
Right. Well, you made such a good point with that. I mean, print advertising, you can select a certain demographic. And with all this digital media advertising, it is very new. So still, I mean, 10 years is still quite new for an industry if you think about it. So these types of lawsuits are coming forward. And it might, I don't know the exact timeline, but it might be a little bit of sensationalism too. Like they might be jumping on the bandwagon because it is potentially discriminatory. But if you look at any traditional form of marketing, it's all discriminatory. Because when you think of a product and you do the testing to see who the product is most viable for and who responds to it, then that's who you market to. And you don't try to work on cold leads, it's called. So you're always, if you know that a certain demographic likes your product or is probably going to buy your product, then you would go with those warmer leads. And so that's the way it's always been in television. Watch certain television programs. There's certain commercials that play during those television programs. If you know that your brand new, fully loaded Dodge Ram is more likely to sell to men aged this age to this age, making this much money, is it super discriminatory to make sure that your ad lands during a football game? You know what I mean? So really, if you think about it, marketing has been discriminatory since the beginning of marketing. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, even though I don't like the thought of people being, just because they're living in a certain neighborhood, they're looked at like they're not deserving of living in this other neighborhood. I mean, if that's the bottom line there. But I don't really see where any laws have been broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to follow that, to see what happens. I mean, I totally agree with you 100% in terms of marketing. But, yeah, I mean, at what point where does the control come into place, or the regulations? Is Facebook really going to be forced by the government to regulate what a real estate brokerage can and cannot advertise? I mean, they already have strict guidelines on what you can and cannot advertise. So, mm-hmm. I mean, I know so many people that try to advertise certain things and they get denied every single time. And it's because they have pretty strict rules already in place. Yeah. Yeah. So mm-hmm. This lawsuit's really focusing around the fact that or take a rental ad, for example. You post a rental ad, but you market it only to, let's say, anyone ages 30 and above, because you don't want no young kids coming in and partying in your house, right? Yeah. All of a sudden, you're technically discriminating by doing that. But who's going to be responsible for regulating and, basically regulating that?
Yeah. Yeah. You can't see. I would be willing to bet that this lawsuit is just, this firm jumping on the bandwagon with all the publicity out there and hoping that something's going to go through and they're going to get a bit of money out of it, maybe a settlement out of court, just because Facebook will want it out of the headline so badly. But I don't see them going any. I don't see any laws being broken, and I don't see because this lawsuit is different than him going in front of the FTC. I think it is in front of Congress. So I don't think that they're actually going to get sued. I don't think it's actually going to go through, but things could change on a policy level, on a federal level, after Mark Zuckerberg meets with the Congress, stands in front of them. But as far as this lawsuit, I mean, again, like it doesn't feel good to know that you will be placed in some margin, and that's where you belong if you're a woman aged this with like making this much money. But that's kind of the name of the game, and it has been for a long time. I don't see it really changing overnight.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then one final question before we call it a wrap here. What has your attention right now? It could be a book, bottle of wine. What's getting your attention right now?
Oh, that's a really good question, Mark. My attention right now is I actually just signed on this latest client. They are a addiction recovery and treatment center in BC here, British Columbia. And so they are going to be helping people with overcoming addiction, whether it be an eating disorder or drug addiction, alcohol abuse. And with that, they are starting a foundation to help people that might not be able to afford the services. So once in a while, there'd be enough money in the foundation to have someone that comes from a background that wouldn't have the money to go to a center like that. So a lot of my energy right now is focused on that foundation, actually, and helping them get started with that, because had some problems within my own family back in the day with mental health and addiction. It's just running rampant through Canada right now. I know it's running rampant through the United States right now. So that's got a lot of my attention. I know it's not a really fun thing, but I'm super passionate about that topic right now, and that's where a lot of my focus is going to be now for over the next year or so.
Send us the link to that company, and we'll go ahead and post it in
the
podcast.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, Melody, thanks for coming back onto the podcast. It was a great episode. Tons and tons of good information for small business owners, for real estate agents. If someone wants to contact you and your agency, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, they can visit www.millsmediainc.ca, CA for Canada. So they can visit my website. They can drop a line on there. They can find my email address and my phone number on there. They can also visit me at Facebook at Mills Media Inc. And, I'd love to hear from your listeners. If they have any questions, they want some more details about the issues we were talking about, or if they just want to run some ideas past me about things that they're doing on their own Facebook page or Twitter page or blog, I'm here to help. Awesome.
Well, thank you, and good luck to your business and continuing success.
Thank you so much, Mark. I have a great time talking with you as always, and look forward to talking with you again.
Sounds good. Okay, bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lemon. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For more information on my business as a property manager and real estate team, go visit my website at markguzman.com. I really want to thank all of you for listening. It means the world to me, and I hope today's episode provides you value in your day-to-day life. I created this podcast to help showcase the many great people that live in this world and help share some knowledge that I've learned along the way in life. Again, thank you for listening. Check out our sponsors, and I'll catch you on the next episode.